The bridge of the Cairn Dominion flagship was chaos. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The deep hum of the reactor wavered, and the air smelled of smoke and fear. Captain Terrell gripped the railing in front of his command chair as another impact rocked the ship. The view screen showed a nightmare, dozens of alien ships surrounding them, red and black hulls glowing with fire. "The Vargal swarm was closing in, all shields failing," shouted his officer. "Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Terrell's claws dug into the cold metal. His people had fought for months, and every world they'd lost echoed in his mind. The Vargal were merciless, an endless tide of beasts with ships that looked alive, pulsing like muscle and bone. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't talk. They only devoured. "Evacuate what's left of the fleet," Terrell ordered, his voice low but firm. "Tell the cruisers to fall back to the edge of the system. We'll hold them here." The young officer turned to him, eyes wide. "But Captain, do it!" The order carried through the comms, but everyone knew it was useless. The Dominion had no hope left. Their defenses were broken, their colonies burned. The Vargal would spread across the stars until nothing was left. A tremor shook the deck as another blast hit the side of the ship. Lights flickered. The power core was overheating. The captain looked around the bridge. Smoke, panic, fear, but something inside him refused to give up. He walked toward an old console on the far wall. It was covered in dust, sealed under a layer of glass. A relic. He broke the seal with a hiss of escaping air. Inside was a small beacon, shaped like a crystal, etched with symbols no one had read in centuries. "Captain," one of his crew whispered. "That's ancient tech. Forbidden by the Council." "I know," Terrell said quietly, "but we have no one else to call." He lifted the crystal carefully. The writing on it glowed faintly as if waking from a long sleep. Every Cairn officer on the bridge froze, watching their captain hold a myth. It was said that long ago, before the Dominion, before even the Vargal, there had been a race that stood against the darkness. A species that had burned brighter than any other, humans. But they were gone now, vanished from history thousands of cycles ago. Some said they fled beyond the rim of the galaxy. Others whispered they had destroyed themselves in a final war. No one truly knew. Terrell didn't believe in ghosts. But right now, he was willing to call one. He placed the beacon on the console. "Begin signal transmission." His comm officer hesitated. "Captain, we don't even know if this thing works." "It will work," Terrell said. "It must." He pressed his hand against the crystal. The symbols flared to life, flooding the bridge with blue light. The ship's systems groaned as power was pulled toward the beacon. Energy readings spiked across the sensors. "Signal transmitting. Frequency unknown," said the officer. "It's broadcasting into Captain. It's not just broadcasting across systems. It's broadcasting beyond the galaxy." "Let it." Outside, the stars shimmered as the signal burst outward in a wave of light. Across the void, the message carried a single call for help, repeated again and again in an ancient code. Then the beacon dimmed. The blue glow faded. The bridge was silent except for the sound of distant explosions. The signal was gone. Terrell stared at the empty crystal. "Did anyone respond?" The officer shook her head. "No response, sir. Nothing." Terrell closed his eyes. He didn't know what he had expected. Maybe some old satellite, maybe a myth answered by static, but not silence. "Then we fight," he said softly. "Until the end." The ship shuddered again as the Vargal fired another volley. A massive explosion tore across the hull and the bridge lights went dark. Emergency systems kicked in, casting everything in a dim red glow. "Captain!" someone shouted. "The enemy fleet is charging weapons for final strike." Terrell looked out the main viewport. Hundreds of red lights gleamed in the darkness, each one a Vargal warship preparing to fire. The captain stood straight, his shoulders heavy but proud. "To all ships of the Cairn Dominion," he said over the comms. "It has been an honor." He closed the channel. The bridge crew stood silently, some weeping, some whispering prayers, and then something changed. "Captain!" cried the sensor officer. "Reading massive spatial disturbance. Coordinates. Edge of the system." Terrell frowned. "Vargal reinforcements?" "I don't think so," the officer whispered. It's too big. Too organized. Sir, the energy readings, there are hundreds of jump signatures." Outside, the stars bent. Space itself rippled like water. One by one, shapes emerged. Massive, cold, metallic. Ships unlike any the Dominion had ever seen. Towering cruisers and sleek destroyers, all marked with the same insignia, a blue and white emblem of a planet encircled by wings. The bridge went silent. Even the damaged systems seemed to pause. "Identify those ships," Terrell said, his voice shaking. The sensor officer stared at her screen. "Sir, they match no known galactic database." "But the beacon, its signal frequency." "It's matching theirs." The comm crackled. A calm, human voice spoke across the static. "This is the Terran Defense Armada. We received your distress call." Terrell froze. Every officer on the bridge turned to him, eyes wide. The voice continued. "Stand by, Cairn vessel. You're not alone anymore." Then the screen filled with light as hundreds of human warships powered up their weapons, forming a wall between the Dominion fleet and the Vargal swarm. The captain of the dying Cairn ship could only whisper one word, his voice trembling in awe and disbelief. "Humans!" And for the first time in generations, the galaxy held its breath. The space around the Cairn fleet was still glowing from the arrival of the human armada. The Vargal ships, once roaring forward with confidence, now drifted uncertainly. Their swarm-like formations broke apart as they scanned the newcomers. No one, not even the Vargal, had ever seen ships like these. The Terran vessels hung in the void like sleeping giants, gray, silent, and utterly calm. No bright colors, no display of power. Just smooth hulls of reinforced alloy and a strange blue shimmer that rippled across their surfaces like a living shield. They didn't move fast. They didn't need to. The void seemed to bend around them as if reality itself respected their presence. Captain Terrell stood frozen, his heart pounding. He had grown up hearing myths about humans, stories told to frighten children or amuse scholars. The first war builders, they were called. The lost forge of the stars. But none of the stories ever agreed on how they vanished. Some said humans had destroyed their own homeworld in a great war. Others said they had built ships so powerful they left the galaxy to escape themselves. Now, as hundreds of human ships lined up across the stars, those myths stood alive before him. The comm officer looked at Terrell with disbelief. "Sir, they said Terran Defense Armada." "Terran means?" "Earth," Terrell nodded slowly. "Then the ghosts have come home." A voice echoed again through the comms. Calm, controlled. "Cairn vessel honors flame. This is Commander Elena Reyes of the Terran Defense Armada. Your signal reached an ancient emergency channel," we answered. "Identify yourself." Terrell stepped forward. "This is Captain Terrell of the Cairn Dominion. I sent the signal. We were under attack by the Vargal swarm. Our fleet is nearly destroyed." There was a pause. Only the soft hum of damaged systems filled the silence. "Understood," Reyes replied. "Stand by, Captain. We'll handle this." Her tone was simple, but something about it made Terrell shiver. It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty, the voice of someone who knew what would happen next. Outside, the nearest human ships began to move. Their engines ignited with blue light, but no sound came. A formation of long, dagger-shaped destroyers slid forward. Every move was precise, mathematical, beautiful. Then, from the Vargal side, hundreds of red beams fired. The swarm screamed across space, trying to crush the newcomers before they could act. But the humans did not dodge. Their shields flared for a moment, and then the counterattack came. The Invictus, the lead human battleship, opened fire first. Its main gun didn't shoot a laser. It shot a rod of tungsten the size of a building at near-light speed. The projectile tore through 4 Vargal ships in one hit. The explosion was so bright it blinded the sensors. Seconds later, the entire human fleet joined in. Kinetic slugs, rail cannons, plasma arcs, the stars themselves seemed to burn under their fire. Each shot was silent, but every flash painted the void in blue-white fury. Terrell watched as the impossible happened. The Vargal, the unstoppable monsters of the galaxy, were being destroyed, utterly, mercilessly, without pause. The alien officer beside him whispered, "It's like..." "They've done this before." "Yes," Terrell murmured. "Many times, I think. Within minutes, the battle was over. What remained of the Vargal fleet scattered, engines burning, their formation shattered. The Terran ships didn't chase. They didn't need to. One by one, their weapons powered down, and the light of their guns faded into darkness. A single transmission came through the comms again. "Threat neutralized. You are safe now, Captain Terrell." Terrell didn't know what to say. His mind could not catch up with what his eyes had seen. Entire civilizations had fought the Vargul for centuries without success, and the humans had ended the war in 8 minutes. He swallowed hard. "Commander Reyes," he said, "on behalf of the Dominion, we owe you our lives. You came when no one else would. The Cairn will never forget this." There was a short silence before she replied. "We didn't come for gratitude, Captain. We came because someone called for help. That's all. We came because someone called for help. That's all." The simplicity of her words hit harder than any weapon. On the view screen, the camera focused on the flagship Invictus. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in glowing blue veins. The symbol of Earth, the small blue planet wrapped in white wings, was painted across its front. Trell's science officer looked at the readings and frowned. "Captain, these ships don't use any known form of propulsion. Their energy output is far beyond ours, and their AI signals, it's like the ships are alive." Trell stared. "Alive?" "Yes, sir. It's as if the ships themselves are thinking." Before Terrell could respond, another signal came through. A private channel this time. Commander Reyes again. "Captain Terrell, we'd like to meet. You and your senior staff are invited aboard the Invictus. We have much to discuss." The line cut off. Terrell stood in silence, his mind a storm of fear and curiosity. Who were these humans now? Were they even the same species the old legends spoke of? He looked out the viewport again. The Terran ships floated quietly, forming perfect geometric lines, every ship holding position with absolute precision. No drift, no chaos, just discipline, he whispered softly to himself. They left us behind. And now they've come back different. His crew watched him, unsure if this was salvation or the beginning of something far greater and far more dangerous, somewhere deep in space. Beyond the human fleet, the remains of the Vargul watched too. Their commanders, for the first time in living memory, hesitated. The galaxy had changed tonight, and as the Cairn shuttle prepared to cross the void toward the Invictus, Captain Terrell couldn't shake one thought from his mind. The humans hadn't just come to save them. They had come to remind the galaxy what it meant to be afraid. The shuttle from the Cairn Dominion flagship drifted toward the Invictus like a small insect approaching a giant. The Terran battleship was enormous, miles long, its hull smooth and dark gray, marked only by faint blue lines that pulsed like veins. From a distance, it looked less like a machine and more like a sleeping creature of steel and light. Captain Terrell sat in silence, his claws resting on his knees. Around him, his officers whispered in awe, but no one spoke above a breath. Even their ship's systems seemed nervous as the Terran docking bay opened to receive them. As the shuttle entered, bright white lights illuminated the hangar, vast, sterile, and filled with human soldiers. They stood in formation, armor sleek and matte black, their faces hidden behind helmets with glowing blue visors. Their weapons were slung across their backs, but no one doubted they could use them instantly if needed. When the shuttle door opened, the humans didn't move. Instead, one figure stepped forward. She was tall, pale-skinned, her uniform simple and dark gray. Her eyes, a bright metallic silver, reflected everything. "Captain Terrell," she said, her voice calm but strong. "Welcome aboard the Invictus. I am Commander Elena Reyes." Terrell bowed slightly, unsure what the human custom was. "Commander Reyes, the Dominion thanks you for your aid. Without you, none of us would still be alive." Reyes studied him silently for a moment, as if weighing his words. Then she nodded. "You're safe now. Come with me." She turned and began walking. The Cairn officers followed, their claws clicking softly against the polished metal floor. The air smelled clean, too clean. No oil, no smoke, no imperfections. The corridors were lined with faintly glowing panels that responded to their movement. Dimming as they passed, it felt like the ship itself was watching them. They entered a large chamber filled with holographic displays. A giant 3D map of the system floated in the center, showing the debris fields of the destroyed Vargul fleet. Terrell's eyes widened as he realized the Terrans were already cataloging every fragment, every shipwreck, every life sign. "Your efficiency is remarkable," he said quietly. Reyes didn't look at him. "We've had practice." Her tone sent a shiver through him. "You fought them before?" "No," she said. "But we've fought worse." The words hung heavy in the air. Trell watched as the hologram zoomed out, revealing the surrounding sectors. Red markers appeared where the Vargul had infested nearby systems. Reyes tapped one of them. "This swarm has been growing unchecked for too long. We estimate 6 months before they reach the central trade lanes." Trell nodded grimly. "We tried to stop them. They devour everything. We had no way to resist." Reyes turned to face him, her silver eyes unreadable. "You called us for help. We came. But understand this, Captain. When we answer a call, we don't just stop the threat. We erase it. Erase!" Her gaze didn't waver. Completely. Terrell's stomach tightened. He looked at the display again. "You intend to destroy them all?" "Not intend," Reyes said. "We already have." The map updated again, blips disappearing one by one. Terran strike fleets were already moving through neighboring systems, cleaning up the remaining Vargul. The precision was terrifying. Trell had seen war before. He had seen battles where whole worlds burned. But this was surgical annihilation. Not rage, not revenge. Just cold, perfect extermination. He couldn't help but whisper, "Is this mercy? Or judgment?" Reyes didn't answer. She simply turned away. As the meeting continued, Terrell noticed something strange. The humans moved in perfect sync. When one officer gestured, another responded instantly, as if they shared thoughts. There were no spoken commands, no visible hesitation. He finally asked, "Commander, how do your people coordinate so perfectly?" Reyes glanced at him. "You're wondering if we're still human?" Terrell hesitated. "Yes." A faint smile touched her lips. "We left the galaxy long ago to escape our own wars. To survive, we had to change. We learned to connect our minds, not fully, not like machines, but enough to think together. Every ship, every soldier, every drone, we are one network. A single will with many hands." Trell stared. "Then you are no longer individuals?" "Oh, we are," she said softly. "But we remember what unity feels like. It's what saved us." He didn't know whether to be amazed or afraid. Suddenly, alarms flickered across the holographic display. One of the human officers stepped forward. "Commander, we have detected movement on the far edge of the sector. Multiple Vargul clusters regrouping." Reyes's expression didn't change. "Deploy the Iron Wing formation." "No survivors." "Yes, ma'am." Within seconds, dozens of Terran warships warped out of the system. No hesitation, no panic, just obedience. Trell could only watch. "You don't even question the order." Reyes looked at him. "When humanity was divided, we nearly ended ourselves. We learned long ago that questioning orders in war costs lives. Out there, doubt kills faster than any weapon." Her words were cold, but not cruel. They were the words of a soldier who had seen too much. When the briefing ended, Reyes walked him back to the shuttle bay. As they neared the exit, she stopped beside a large viewing window. Outside, the stars shimmered with light from the Terran engines. Trell turned to her. "Commander Reyes, what happens now?" She looked out into the void. "Now we finish what we started. The Vargul are not the only monsters in this galaxy, Captain. There are others waiting, watching. And your distress call woke more than just us." Trell frowned. "What do you mean?" She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly. "There are things in the dark even we fear. But for now, you're safe. Go home. Rebuild. Tell your people humanity has returned." Her tone softened, but only slightly. "Just make sure you remember why we left the first time." As the shuttle pulled away from the Invictus, Terrell couldn't look away. The Terran Armada floated like gods of war, silent, efficient, unshakable. He realized something chilling then. The humans didn't come back because they wanted to. They came back because someone made the mistake of calling them, and now the galaxy would have to live with the consequences. From the Cairn Dominion's outer colonies to the cold edge of uncharted space, flashes of blue light split the darkness. The Terran Armada was moving. Entire battle groups warped between systems with precision that no other civilization had ever achieved. Where the Vargul hid, they were found. Where they fled, they were hunted. Where they fought, they were erased. Captain Tyrrell watched the storm unfold through the Invictus's observation deck. The holographic display filled the room, dozens of red icons vanishing one by one as Terran fleets struck with machine-like perfection. No hesitation, no mercy. No mistakes, he whispered to himself. They are ending a war in days that we could not win in decades. Commander Reyes stood beside him, her hands clasped behind her back. Her expression was unreadable. This is not war, Captain. This is correction. Tyrrell turned toward her. Correction? Yes, Reyes said softly. The Vargul were a plague that spread because no one acted soon enough. They grew stronger because the galaxy tolerated them. Humanity doesn't tolerate infection. The words made Tyrrell uneasy. You speak as if you are cleansing the stars. Reyes didn't answer right away. She watched the display as another Vargul fortress world was reduced to ash. In a way, we are. Far away in the Vargul's stronghold system, the last of their warlords screamed defiance as human ships filled their skies. The swarm launched everything. Thousands of living missiles. Biofighters that hissed like insects. The Terrans responded with silence. The lead vessel, Hammer of Dawn, deployed a weapon that no cairn had ever seen before. The weapon fired once. A beam of white light struck the planet's surface and stopped midair. Then, like a slow heartbeat, it expanded outward, an expanding wave of energy that erased everything it touched. When the light faded, the planet was gone. Not destroyed, erased. A perfect sphere of empty space floated where a world had been. Back aboard the Invictus, Tyrrell's mouth went dry. You annihilated an entire world. Reyes's silver eyes turned toward him. They were beyond redemption. But there were prisoners, slaves. They were already dead, Captain, Reyes said coldly. The Vargul consume what they capture. There was nothing left to save. Tyrrell clenched his fists. You decided that without even checking? Reyes's expression didn't change. When we were young, we used to ask for proof before acting. It made us weak. We learned that waiting for certainty kills more lives than acting with resolve. Her words chilled him. He realized now that humanity had not just advanced. They had hardened. Every part of them, every decision, every thought, was shaped by centuries of survival and war beyond the galaxy's edge. They didn't see life the way the rest of the galaxy did. Later, Tyrrell was escorted through one of the Invictus's research wings. There, through a transparent wall, he saw something that made him stop. Humans were working alongside machines. No, with machines. Their neural ports glowed faintly as data streamed between man and metal. The scientist's eyes flickered with artificial light. Are they connected? He asked the escort. A nearby human officer nodded. All Terran officers are bonded to the fleet mind. Fleet mind. It's the collective consciousness that links every Terran ship, drone, and soldier. We share thoughts when needed. We make decisions together. Humanity learned that unity is faster than democracy. Tyrrell's breath caught. So you are one mind? The officer smiled faintly. We are many minds, Captain. But when the Armada moves, it moves as one. He didn't know whether to be amazed or horrified. That night, Tyrrell couldn't sleep. His guest quarters aboard the Invictus were luxurious, but silent. Too silent. The walls seemed to hum faintly, like they were breathing. He looked out the viewport at the human fleet. Thousands of ships, aligned in perfect geometric formation. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Then the comm terminal on his wall flickered. A human face appeared, older, stern, with gray hair and glowing cybernetic eyes. This is Admiral Vale, the man said. You're Captain Tyrrell, yes? The one who sent the distress signal? Yes, Tyrrell said carefully. Commander Reyes is following orders, Vale interrupted. I wanted to speak to you myself. The Admiral leaned forward. You see, Captain, humanity didn't leave this galaxy because we were weak. We left because we saw what was coming. The endless wars, the politics, the apathy. We built a place beyond the stars where we could grow without interference. And now, he paused, his eyes glinting. Now we are returning to finish what we started, Tyrrell's heart pounded. What is that? To bring order, Vale said simply. True order. Not through control, but through fear. The galaxy forgot who we were. The Vargal reminded us why we can't stay silent. The line cut off. The next day, reports flooded the system. The entire Vargal species, gone. Every world, every hive, every ship destroyed. The humans had wiped out an entire civilization in less than 72 hours. Across the galaxy, panic spread. Some celebrated humanity's return. Others feared it. Reyes called Terrell to the command deck once more. The Vargal are no more, she said. The sector is secure. Trell nodded weakly. At what cost? Reyes looked at him. Peace always has a cost. She turned back to the display. Tell your leaders that the Terran Armada will withdraw soon. But we will be watching. If the galaxy ever falls into chaos again, we will return. And next time, she looked directly at him. We won't be so merciful. The lights dimmed as the Terran ships prepared to jump. Trell stared through the viewport, whispering to himself. Merciful? As the human fleet vanished into blue light, leaving behind silence and the ashes of a species, he finally understood. The humans hadn't come back to save anyone. They had come back to make sure no one else ever became like them. The Terran fleet hung in orbit above the ruins of the last Vargal world. Below, the planet was a dark scar. The crust melted, the oceans gone. What was once a thriving hive of death was now a sphere of glass, silent and lifeless. Captain Terrell stared through the viewport of his shuttle, unable to speak. The Terran ships surrounded the dead world like silent sentinels. Each vessel pulsed faintly with blue light, the rhythm eerily steady, like a heartbeat. He whispered, "You call this peace?" No one answered. His officers sat in silence, afraid to say what they all felt. The humans had destroyed an entire species. They had done it cleanly, without anger, without hesitation. It was not victory. It was judgment. Moments later, the shuttle descended toward the flagship Invictus. He was summoned by Commander Reyes herself. This time, the invitation came with no explanation, no reason, just coordinates and a message. Come alone. The docking bay of the Invictus was darker than before. The lights were dimmed, the atmosphere quiet. When Terrell stepped out, he saw no guards, no soldiers, only Commander Reyes waiting at the far end of the bay. She stood beside a large, transparent wall overlooking space, her hands folded behind her back. "Captain Terrell," she said without turning, "you've seen what we can do. Now you need to understand why we do it." Terrell approached slowly. "Understand? Commander, you erased an entire civilization. How can I understand that?" Reyes looked out the window. The reflection of the shattered planet glowed faintly in her eyes. "Because we've done it before." "To ourselves," Terrell stopped. "You mean—" "Yes," she said softly. "Before we left this galaxy, we destroyed entire nations, entire continents. We turned our homeworld into a graveyard of our own making. We became the monsters we feared. That's when humanity decided to leave, to evolve, to never repeat it again." She turned toward him now, her silver eyes bright with an inner glow. "We built the Armada not just as a fleet, but as a conscience. Every soldier, every ship, every mind in this fleet shares one oath to never allow the darkness we once carried to spread again." Trell's voice trembled. "But who decides what darkness is, Commander? Who decides who deserves to live?" Rhea stepped closer. "We do." Her answer was calm, absolute. The galaxy built its empires on fear, slavery, corruption. The Vargal were only the latest symptom. Humanity has seen this pattern before, Captain. We know where it leads. Collapse, chaos, extinction. So we do not ask permission to stop it. Terrell stared at her, horrified. "You claim to bring peace, but you rule through terror." Reyes didn't flinch. "Peace built on fear is still peace. For 1,000 years, the galaxy fought and bled while your leaders debated ethics. We act. We end the bleeding." There was no arrogance in her tone, only certainty. That was what frightened him most. "Come with me," Rhea said suddenly. She led him through the corridor into a wide chamber lined with glass pillars. Inside each pillar floated a faint blue light, thousands of them, stretching into the distance. "What is this place?" Terrell whispered. "The memory vault," she said. "Each light is a mind, the consciousness of a human who joined the fleet mind fully. They no longer have bodies, They live within the Armada, guiding us, watching over us. Terrell felt his skin crawl. You keep their minds alive inside machines? They are not trapped, Rhea said softly. They chose this. When a human dies, their thoughts can merge with the fleet mind if they wish. It is how we keep our wisdom alive, our history, our mistakes. He stepped closer to one of the pillars. The light inside flickered, and for an instant, he thought he saw a face, old, kind, tired. A whisper echoed faintly through the air. Do not let them forget. Terrell stepped back quickly. It spoke. Reyes nodded. They all do sometimes. The fleet mind is not perfect. It remembers everything, the pain, the wars, the losses. That is the burden of our power. Terrell turned to her, his voice raw. You have become gods among mortals, Commander. But gods forget what it means to be human. Reyes's expression softened for the first time. You think we don't know that? Every day we fight to remember. Every time we save a world, we wonder if we've lost something of ourselves. But the alternative, letting the galaxy burn again, we can't accept that. She walked toward the viewport again. Do you know what happens to a civilization when it believes it is safe, Captain? It stops growing. It stops learning. It becomes complacent. That is what nearly killed humanity once. We will not allow it to happen again. Not to us. Not to anyone. Terrell stood silently for a long time. The blue lights of the vault shimmered across his face. So you destroy to protect. You kill to save. And you call that peace. Reyes looked at him. We call it balance. For the first time, she looked tired. The silver in her eyes dimmed slightly, and Terrell realized she wasn't just a soldier. She was something else, something burdened by the weight of every life humanity had taken. Finally, she said quietly, The Armada will leave soon. We will return to the void beyond your stars. But remember this, Captain Terrell, humanity always hears the cry for help, even when we wish we didn't. When Terrell returned to his ship, the Invictus loomed in the distance like a dark moon. He sat in silence as the shuttle drifted away, his crew too afraid to speak. He thought about the vault, about the voices trapped in glass, whispering through eternity, about the woman who spoke like a savior and acted like a god, about the woman who spoke like a savior and acted like a god. And deep down he wondered which was worse, a galaxy full of monsters, or one guarded by humanity. The Invictus hung like a steel god over the broken world below. To the Cairn Dominion it was salvation. To Captain Terrell, it was something far more dangerous, a reminder that even gods could bleed. 3 days had passed since his meeting with Commander Reyes. 3 days since he had seen the vault, the living memories of humanity's dead. He couldn't forget their whispers, their sorrow. He couldn't forget the look in Reyes's eyes, that calm certainty that chilled him to his bones. Now, Terrell stood once more on the command bridge of his own ship, staring at the faint silhouette of the human flagship in the distance. His officers worked quietly around him, too afraid to speak. The Dominion fleet had begun repairs, salvaging what little remained of their forces, but no one was celebrating. Captain, his second-in-command said softly, Commander Reyes has requested to speak with you, privately. Terrell nodded slowly. Patch her through. The hologram flickered to life beside him. Reyes appeared, standing with her hands behind her back, as calm and unreadable as ever. Captain Terrell, she said, the Vargal are gone. The sector is secure. Humanity's work here is finished. Terrell's throat tightened. Finished? You destroyed an entire species. Do you call that work? Reyes didn't react. They were a threat that could not be contained. You saw what they were capable of. And what about us? Terrell asked. What happens when humanity decides we're a threat too? There was silence. Then Reyes said quietly, That depends on what you do next. Later, a small Terran shuttle arrived at the Cairn flagship. No escort, no guards. Inside it was a single item, a silver device, no larger than a human's hand. It pulsed with faint blue light. Terrell held it in his claws, staring. What is this? Reyes's voice came through his communicator. It's called an echo key. It's linked to the Armada's long-range relay network. If your people are ever in danger again, true danger, activate it. We will hear it. We will come, Terrell frowned. And if we use it for something else? Then the Armada will still come, Reyes said. But not as saviors. The connection cut. Tyrell looked at the key for a long time. It pulsed once, like a heartbeat, and then went still. Days turned into weeks. The Terran fleet remained in orbit, silent and watchful, as Dominion engineers repaired their ships and colonies. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The humans have returned. Some called them saviors. Others called them executioners. Every government sent envoys eager to make contact. But the Terrans refused all communication. Their fleet stayed locked in formation, responding only to the Dominion. Then one night, as Tyrell reviewed the endless messages from foreign worlds, a strange light flickered outside his window. A smaller Terran vessel detached from the Invictus and approached his ship. A single message appeared on his screen. Permission to board. Tyrell hesitated, then granted it. When the airlock opened, Commander Reyes herself stepped through. No guards, no soldiers. Just her, clad in the same gray uniform, her eyes glowing faintly under the dim lights. Tyrell bowed slightly. "Commander Reyes, I didn't expect—" "I know," she interrupted softly. "But this is important." She handed him a small holographic disc. "This is everything we know about the Vargul, their origins, their mutations, their spread. But that's not why I'm here." She paused, her tone lowering. "The signal you sent, Captain. It wasn't just received by us." Tyrell froze. "What do you mean?" Reyes looked toward the viewport, her expression unreadable. "When your distress call traveled beyond the galactic rim, it went through old Terran channels. But those channels are open, not just to us." Tyrell felt the blood drain from his face. "Something else heard it?" Reyes nodded once. "Something old. Something that has not spoken in thousands of years. We don't know if it's alive or if it's watching. But when we tracked the signal, we found a response buried in the static." "What did it say?" Reyes turned to face him. For the first time, her calm voice wavered slightly. "It said, 'They still remember.'" The room went cold. Tyrell sat down slowly, trying to process her words. "You think this will come here?" Reyes didn't answer immediately. "We don't know. But if it does, this galaxy isn't ready. Not even the Armada can guarantee victory." She looked at him, her gaze sharp. "That's why I came. You must warn your leaders. Prepare your worlds. The humans will leave soon, but the Echo Key, keep it safe. Use it only if you must. The next time it's activated, it might not just summon us. It might summon them." Tyrell swallowed hard. "Who are they?" Reyes shook her head. "We don't know their name. The old fleet mind called them the Architects. The ones who shaped the stars before our kind ever walked." Her voice softened. "Whatever they are, they remembered the humans. And that means they remember this galaxy, too." When Reyes departed, Tyrell stood in the empty corridor, the Echo Key glowing faintly in his hand. He felt its pulse again, like a heartbeat in his palm. He didn't know whether it was a gift or a curse. Out the viewport, the Terran Armada began to move, hundreds of ships aligning in perfect order, engines burning blue. One by one, they vanished into the void, leaving only faint trails of light behind, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was quiet. But Tyrell couldn't shake the feeling that the silence wasn't peace. It was waiting for the next signal, waiting for the next call for help, waiting for the next judgment. He turned the key over in his hand and whispered to himself, "If we call them again, will they save us or destroy us?" The key pulsed once more, and somewhere, far beyond the edge of known space, something ancient stirred in the dark. Listening, the Terran Armada was gone. For the first time in months, the stars looked ordinary again, small, distant, and silent. But to the people of the Cairn Dominion, the night sky would never be the same. Captain Tyrell stood on the balcony of the new Dominion capital, the Echo Key glowing faintly in his hand. Every world across the Dominion had rebuilt. Trade routes reopened. Children laughed again. The scars of the Vargul War were fading, and yet Tyrell felt no peace. He saw the human ships in every dream, steel giants wrapped in blue light, moving like one mind. He heard their weapons roar across empty space. He remembered the look in Commander Reyes's eyes. Not cruelty, not kindness, just inevitability. He had once thought humanity's return was salvation. Now he wondered if it had been a warning. News spread quickly across the galaxy. Every species, every empire had heard the same story. The humans came when called. They destroyed the monsters. Then they left. Some called them gods. Others called them tyrants. Religions rose around them. Entire sects devoted to the skyward fire, worshipping the light of the human armada as a sign of divine judgment. Meanwhile, scholars and generals began to fear the same thing. If the humans could destroy one species so easily, what would stop them from destroying another? The galaxy trembled beneath peace, a fragile peace, born not of trust, but of fear. Trell attended a summit on the Dominion's central world. Delegates from 20 species gathered to discuss the humans. The air buzzed with unease. "The humans have vanished," said a reptilian envoy, his voice trembling. "Their signal relays are silent. They've left nothing behind but ruins and warnings." "They said they would return if called," replied another delegate. "Perhaps we should reach out. Open communication, not fear it." "Open communication?" snapped an insectoid ambassador. "Did you see what they did to the Vargal? They call it cleansing. I call it extermination." The chamber erupted into chaos. Shouting, accusations, fear. Trell said nothing. He only watched. When the argument finally quieted, he spoke softly. "Perhaps we should stop wondering what the humans will do, and start wondering what we will do if they never come back." The room fell silent. That night, Terrell returned to his quarters. The echo key sat on his desk, glowing faintly. He hadn't activated it since the day Reyes left it with him. Sometimes, when he couldn't sleep, he would hold it in his hand and feel the faint pulse within. Steady, like a heartbeat. But tonight, something was different. The pulse was stronger, faster. Trell frowned. "Computer, scan for subspace activity." The ship's AI responded at once. "Confirmed. Low-frequency energy detected. Origin unknown. Show me." The screen lit up, revealing a cluster of signals on the far edge of the galaxy. Not in Dominion space, not near any known civilization, just there, growing. And in the center of that signal cluster, something enormous moved, a shadow the size of a moon. Trell's breath caught. "Reyes, what did you wake up?" Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Unmanned probes vanished without trace. Stars dimmed for hours at a time. In deep space, travelers reported hearing voices, faint whispers and static, speaking in old Terran languages long forgotten. One Cairn science vessel transmitted a single message before disappearing entirely. "The light is alive." Then silence. Weeks passed. Fear grew. Some believed it was the Vargal returning. Others said it was a new weapon from the humans. But deep down, Terrell knew the truth. It was them. The ones Reyes had spoken of. The ones who had shaped the stars before time began. The architects. And the worst part was, they were coming back too. Terrell returned to the same balcony where he'd first seen the Armada depart. The echo key glowed in his hand, brighter than ever now, pulsing so hard it hurt to hold. He wanted to destroy it. He wanted to throw it into the sun. But part of him couldn't let.